Hello. Welcome to the Independent Women's Forum Center for Economic Opportunity. My name is Patrice Onwuka, and I'm the director of the Center for Economic Opportunity. And this is our home for economic, labor, and tech policy. Now, today's policy chat is hosted midway through Black History Month because we intentionally want to be forward looking. Now, just before the pandemic, Black poverty had fallen to its lowest recorded level, and unemployment rates had hit record lows as well. I'm so amazed that in our lifetimes, we've seen the first Black president and the first Black vice president. Black America is home to the largest concentration of Black billionaires, seven of the world's 14. Now, still very small compared to the number of total billionaires. But wealth hasn't just accumulated at the very top in the Black community. The expansion of the Black middle class and upper class has been tremendous over the past few decades. Now, that said, racial gaps in learning, employment, home ownership, health, wealth, and many more really demand solutions that work. It's discouraging when I see the labor force gains that have been eroded by COVID-19, when we see the learning loss, especially among our Black students during this pandemic, because schools, public schools in particular, remain closed for in-person learning, and it's created a heartbreaking situation for so many of our kids. Meanwhile, spiking violence across America's cities heightens that uncertainty of just living a regular life. Black people, though, we are resilient and we are strong. We are not victims of our circumstances. Now, common sense policies are important, and they go hand in hand with those grassroots levels efforts that strengthen our communities from the inside. So today, we're going to explore some of those solutions with women who are on the front lines. Please, if you have questions for our chat today, I'm going to ask you to put that up there. If you like this content and this video, give it some love and subscribe to our newsletter at iwf.org/CEO. So joining me today, though, are three women. If you do not follow them, please start following them on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, everywhere they're at. Karen Alston is the founder and president of the Spectrum Circle. Sylvia Bennett Stone is the National Director of Voices of Black Mothers United, a project of the Woodson Center. And Denisha Merriweather is the founder of Black Minds Matter. Ladies, welcome to today's policy chat.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Terrific.
Thank you.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
Thank you. Well, I'm excited to have you guys here, and I'm looking forward to a robust conversation. So we're going to dispense with the traditional long introductions. I'm going to let you introduce yourselves and kick it off with this initial question to you. What most concerns you with the Black community today, and talk about the work that you're doing to address it or to address other issues related to that. Now, I'm just going to start with who I see on my screen first. So I'll kick it off with Denisha, and then we'll go to you, Miss Sylvia, and Miss Karen. You're going to wrap it up, and then we'll keep moving into some more specific questions and policy topics. So go ahead, Denisha.
Yeah, for me, the biggest issue is education. I've seen the impact that a lack of education can have, both in my personal life and in the people who are also in my community. For me, I failed the third grade twice going to my local, my zone school. I thought I was dumb. I just knew I was stupid. I was very insecure. I lashed out in physical fights. And I really thought that I would become a statistic, that I would be a teen parent and drop out of high school. I knew I would probably have a job just because I like money. But none of that happened. In the sixth grade, I received a scholarship to go to a private school, and it changed my life. I went from making D's and F's, believing that I would become a teen parent, to making A's and B's, becoming the first in my family to graduate from high school. I went on to college and received a master's degree. And then I began to look back as the years continued. I looked back at my community. I looked back at my family members. And the one thing that was different between all of us was the quality of education that they received. I had family members who went to jail, who dropped out, who had kids, and was, just living a life dependent on the government. And the one thing that I could say that I had and they didn't was a quality education. And so I've committed myself to making a difference and to promoting education freedom, to bring awareness to this issue.
Terrific.
Hi, ladies. My topic and my concern is the community safety and the high number of homicides within Black communities, our neighborhoods. I myself am a survivor. My daughter, excuse me, was a victim of violence, went to the gas station, she and her girlfriend, and got caught in the crossfire. Both girls died from one bullet that went through my daughter's body and enlarged in her heart, and both girls died. From that point on, I knew I had to do more in our community. And when I say more, my organization, nonprofit, was working with court systems and juvenile offenders and adult offenders, looking at reentry and alternatives to incarceration. Doing more meant getting into the thick of our community to see what exactly is the problem. Why are we killing each other? Why did you kill my daughter? What was on your heart so heavily and so made you so angry to fire 17 bullets and one of them to kill two girls? So from there, I saw that this is happening a lot. A lot of Black mothers are hurting, they're crying. The community is breaking down because of it. So we need some healing. And through my process of healing, I've learned to help other mothers throughout the United States learn to heal. And I truly believe if a mother heals, that family heals, and then that community heals. So we are looking at policies and solutions to bring about safer communities.
Wow, those are such powerful stories. My name is Karen Alston. I'm the founder and CEO of the Spectrum Circle. I'm here in Washington, D.C. And actually, day to day, I'm a marketer and I work for a network of charter schools. So I fully understand the education issue. Being here in DC, the violence issue is something we navigate all of the time, with gun violence and shootings that happen in and around our nation's capital. One of the things that I'm most proud of is my family. Come from a long family history, 9 generations in the United States, and we are descendants of slaves. And both sets of my grandparents are born in Black incorporated towns in Oklahoma. So, my issue that I want to talk about today is around wealth and the racial wealth gap. I fully believe that economic power drives all other power in this country. So, whether it's political power, power to change narratives in the media, power to create content that tells our stories, power to influence change around crime and what happens to people when they commit crime, comes from wealth and economic power. And so, this has been an area that I am focused on and continually talk about and try to change the narrative around spending and building wealth in our communities. And so I'm looking forward to this conversation and adding to this discussion today.
Oh, terrific. You guys I'm looking forward to diving in with it with each of you. Your stories individually gave me chills in different ways because I can see myself in different aspects of it. And so, speaking of myself, I'm a naturalized citizen. I was born in the Caribbean, moved to this country. Parents sold everything, started over here, grew up in the poor inner city, kind of had a form of school choice, and that I got to go to I tested into a very high performing college preparatory high school, still a public school, but very heavily privately funded, received a lot of private donations from alumni. And so I see all of those aspects and, home ownership entrepreneurship, the value of that, and how we can build long-term wealth. But the fact that going to school with drug needles in the schoolyard is something that was there, and that kids were killed on a mailbox right on the corner of my street. So I see myself in my story, and I think a lot of people will do the same. Let's start though with education. And Denisha, I'll direct this question to you. Education is top of mind for so many parents right now, particularly Black parents. When we think about the learning loss that we've seen over the past year, virtual versus not virtual school, the masking debate, all of that. What do you think? What are you hearing from parents, particularly Black parents, about the education system? And what do Black parents want out of this educational system?
Yeah, and you're totally right in your question. The pandemic really did a service, a number to students nationwide, but especially to our most vulnerable students. And unfortunately, those are lower income students who are mostly minority. So they're kids who look like us. And so these kids, these students were a year and a half behind due to school closures and COVID. Students were already at a deficit, being 13 out of 100 kids reading on doing math on grade level, and 15 out of 100 reading on grade level. These were pre-pandemic statistics. And so there is really a lot that we need to fix within the education system, but parents are standing up. We've seen this happen over and over, time after time, especially I would say in Florida. The great state of Florida has continued to listen to parents about their needs, desires, and their wants for education freedom. During the gubernatorial election between Ron DeSantis and Andrew Gillum, parents stood up. I mean, by all accounts, you would think that Andrew Gillum would have won. He was this Black, dynamic guy who had endorsements from a lot of people across the country, celebrities, and then Ron DeSantis, who's this white Republican. But they ran on two different platforms. One said that they would strip away charter schools and private schools and reduce the programs, eliminate them. And the other said, well, there is a wait list of 100,000 kids. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to provide scholarships for those students on wait lists. And there's a famous Wall Street Journal article actually researching and saying that the people who voted for Ron DeSantis were majority Black moms who said they want their kids to be in better schools. They don't want their kids to be left behind. And that's why they voted for the quote unlikely candidate. And this same thing happened in Virginia, where parents said, no, we're going to stand up for our freedom in education and make sure we can have the educational environment that we want for our kids. And so this is happening across the country. And most of the people who are participating on school choice programs are Black and brown students, because most of the programs are for they're income based. And so I believe that the thing that parents want is more education freedom. And there's a study that we did, a research paper that we did focused in Florida, talking about the urgency of school choice, specifically in Florida, because it's just so rampant. We saw that there is a waiting list of 100,000 in charter schools right now in the state of Florida. Governor DeSantis, like I said, eliminated the wait list, but there are students who are still waiting on scholarships to go to private schools. And Florida actually has the most students participating in choice. And when I say choice, I'm talking about all of the options. Yeah, there's the paper right there called Controlling the Narrative. And we talk about the urgency of school choice for in the Black community. And when we talk about choice, we're talking about homeschools, we're talking about private schools, charter schools, virtual schools, and Black students, Black families in Florida. There are more Black students in choice programs than there are Black students in 30 states nationwide. And that's remarkable. That's something that is just completely crazy amazing when you think about. And so I think the way that we fix the education system is to provide more innovation, to provide more options for students, because that really does help. We have a growing number of Black education entrepreneurs, and these are Black people who have founded their own schools. On our website, Black Minds Matter, we have a directory of 300 so far that we found across the country who's doing this work. And it's just so amazing. And so it's a celebratory, we have so many things to be frustrated about and upset about because the outcomes for our students are just so depressing. But we also have some bright spots and some highlights of people who are actually becoming entrepreneurs because of the growth of the school choice programs.
Karen, can I ask you to weigh in? Because you mentioned that you also are involved in this world.
Yeah, I've been nodding my head, and Denisha, I can point you to several schools here in Washington. That's easy because I work in a charter network. First of all, we're dealing with this today, on the ground, discussing the needs, and it's not just education. We feed our students 3 times a day. So for a lot of families, this is where the child can get a healthy meal, where we know they're going to get breakfast, we know they're going to get lunch, we know they're going to get a snack, and in some cases, we know they're going to get dinner. And for parents who are struggling, especially low income parents, who may or may not understand the importance of 3 meals a day and what 3 meals a day does to student performance, these are really important issues. Another thing, education is changing. The world is changing. Technology is changing. And not only are our children left behind from the pandemic, so many of our schools don't have the tools to educate this 21st century workforce. And I'm going to tie it back to the economy. If we are educating kids to go into a workforce of jobs that existed 30, 40 years ago, we have done them a disservice. Because what the jobs that are coming, what's coming due to the technology, we need people who, when they graduate at age 18 from high school, can go into the labor market and be successful so that they can participate in the American dream. And if we're not helping our students get there, if we're just teaching them what they needed to operate in the 60s, 70s, or 80s, we've done them a tremendous disservice. And our schools have not advanced enough in order to assist our children to get to where they need to be. So that's another issue that I'm concerned about, is not only that they're behind, but they're not given the tools that they're going to need to participate in the 21st century workforce.
Well, I'm going to pick up on that and just shift gears, and we can circle back to education. But I mean, Karen, you've led us into a good conversation about the labor force work, and obviously how that leads to wealth generation. So, when we think about the wealth gap, that's obvious. But there's also employment gaps, unemployment gaps, and there's also that readiness for what the workforce looks like. So, based on some of your work, where are you seeing the best solutions? And you can talk about, maybe expand for us a little bit more about just the challenges that we have, but also the opportunities that you see.
So one of the things that is a tremendous opportunity is obviously technology. And I don't mean technology in just computers, right? We have a world where industries are being disrupted. So thinking through, what are the jobs, what are the labor jobs that will allow people to lead a middle class, working class life, right? So whether it's working for Tesla or working in different industries where there'll be lots of jobs. And as much as we may love or hate Amazon, they're a huge employer, working in warehouses, or working in communities where those jobs are going to be the sought after jobs. We're seeing it around the country with the minimum wage fight, of what's coming. And so what is happening is that for a lot of people of color, we're being pushed into retail jobs, which aren't the high paying jobs. So we have to train people and educate people so that by age 18, they can go into a skilled labor opportunity, because everyone isn't going to college and everyone isn't going to go get a master's degree. And we don't need that in this country. We don't need everyone to have a master's degree, but we do need people to be able to go out and be productive members of society. And we need them to be able to afford what their families need, so therefore they can have healthy families. And I hope I'm answering that question in the way that you were posing it. It is scary for me because I see what's coming, and I'm afraid for my people because we're not ready for the innovation and the disruption that's coming.
It's interesting when you talk about innovation and disruption, artificial intelligence, but I can bridge the gap with you, Sylvia, in talking about public safety. And what's interesting, I know everyone has seen lots of those viral videos of smash and grabs. What people don't realize, though, is that when you in a community, when CVS and Walgreens continually gets targeted over and over again, the corporations do what they do, which is we're only going to insure up to a certain amount of goods. After a while, we're just going to close our doors. We're going to close down this shop. And I think that's what you're seeing. And so when you close down the local CVS or the Walmart, that means you lose the jobs. The workers who lived in the neighborhood who worked there are now unemployed. That means that the residents of the area now have to figure out how to get their needs met. Whether that's medicine from the pharmacy, sanitary pads, whatever they're buying at the local store. And that brings, consistent crime brings down the property values. It's hard to build wealth and jump on the bandwagon of, increasing home prices when your neighborhood is not a place where where investment is coming to. And so, when I think, Ms. Sylvia, about, just crime and how it's impacting the communities and also the families, what are you seeing, and what are you kind of doing to help to combat that?
It's all around ties into everything Denisha and Karen was saying. I particularly want to resonate with Denisha, something that you said in Florida, where the Black mothers took to him of voting and saying, this is what we want for our children and this is what we need. So I will say in all our communities need the Black mothers to step up more. And when I say step up more, I'm saying stepping up and taking charge of what's happening in their communities. If you look at it, if you look at our history, we've always have done that. We've always been the leaders. We've been the confidants. We fed the children. We've always done that in our communities. So there's nothing different now, except for we need that leadership. We need that solution base. People have become frustrated because the jobs, like you said, have moved. People have become frustrated in transportation and getting outside of the bus zones in order to get to better paying jobs. In particular, and I can say this in particular where I am right now in Birmingham. However, crime has become so rampant in our communities, to where the crimes have escalated from a smash and grab, and focusing in particularly on the homicide rate, right? We are hurting each other. We are committing genocide on our own communities. But yet, mothers are stepping up. We are in Voices of Black Mothers United. We're in 22 states, and we're stepping up and we're saying enough is enough. We're taking charge of what is happening, because we're losing our babies in innocent crossfires, going simply to a store or gas station, and the risk of you coming home. It's become a concern of everyone's. So we are saying we're taking charge of our community. We wanting to bring back solutions by saying, one, we're going to love on you. That's where it starts. Us mothers are bringing that love back into our communities, not just our children. Because if you realize it, our children play with their children and their children. And if they're not getting what they need, then that can become an issue with your child. So we're spreading that love, starting with the love, then the healing, and then the solutions as to why are you feeling the way you're feeling. So if we need to address issues of mental health, then we can do that in a safe space with the mother, saying, okay, this has been taboo in the African American communities where you have been embarrassed to get mental health treatment, right? No more. We're saying no more. If we need that help, we're going to get that help. And we're going to walk with you to get that help with your child. If it's economics, our mothers are on the ground. We provide workforce development programs. How can we help you get that training, Karen, that you were talking about? That's not the local jobs paying minimum wage within. Let's connect you with resources that will allow you to get transportation, to get those jobs that goes outside of public transportation. And what's happening inside the home? It's that child eating. We have food giveaways. We do Christmas giveaways. We do book bags. We try to help them meet every need that they're having to eliminate those stressors that will push into violence. But we also say, we're not going to allow you to be a victim. We're not going to allow you to do that. We're not going to allow you to use anything as an excuse as to why you cannot do better, why you cannot make better decisions. We're not going to allow that. So being that victim, no more. We have to take that stigma out of our community where our kids have been told that you're in this situation because of the man. No, absolutely not.
I'm nodding my head because I couldn't agree with you more. And, you know, first of all, I grew up in the 90s. I love hip hop. I love old school hip hop. I love it. But Eric Adams brought this up the other day talking about drill rap. And this is why I'm always on economic power. We have messages that are sent to our young people, and the smash and grabs, in Washington, D.C. right now, all the carjackings, most of them are being committed by 12 to 15-year-olds.
Right.
And they're doing it because that's what they see. That's what they're hearing on the radio. That's what they see on Instagram. That's what the rappers are talking about. And so it's fun. It's like, oh, I'm getting street cred. This is how I get my street cred. I have friends who are middle class parents who send their kids to quote unquote good schools. And what do the teenagers want? They want their street cred. So it's not just, oh, I moved you out of the neighborhood, or I put you in these good schools, or I'm paying $40,000 a year for private school. They're influenced by these images that they see from the rappers, the movies, and the entertainment industry that sends a message to Black kids and kids of color that to be cool means you have to have gone to jail. That's the image that's sent now. So they're not thinking yet, or thinking clearly, that this violence impacts someone, or how it impacts my community, or the smash and grabs means these stores don't want to open in my community, which impacts someone's job and someone's livelihood. They're not thinking it through that line of thought to get to the conclusion. They just want to post on Instagram or TikTok. what they did with their friends and that it was fun that we did this smash and grab. And so when I talk about economic power, the more wealthy people we have, the more billionaires, the more people with hundreds of millions of dollars, we can impact those industries to say, stop.
Mm.
Stop sending these messages to our young people so that they don't glorify this and think that if I do this, this is fun and my friends are going to envy me because I did it. That is a huge issue in our community that we have to address.
Karen, I will share with you guys in speaking of how the message is put out to our children. Just last night, we had an incident here where two kids were playing with a gun, but they were emulating the rappers and, I'm cool, posting it, but the gun was loaded. And as a result of it, a 15-year-old little girl died because they wanted to play and post like, you're cool. This is cool. But this is not cool. This is real life. And we have to get that message to our children. We have to take all of that. We have to wipe all that out. And how we start doing that is with the love and the healing and education. We have to bring about that awareness that what does it mean to actually play with a loaded gun? That means that 99.9% of your chances of being hurt is real.
So who is going to bring these messages? I'm right there with you. And, I look at the year of protests that we had around racial justice, that, I'm biased. I will say that I think a lot of it was more about political power for one party than it was kind of the solutions and really getting to the healing and the core issues that we're talking about today. So who do we tap to bring the messages to our young people to say, no, it's not Tekashi 6ix9ine, that kind of lifestyle. Actually, this is what you want to be. This is what you want to do. How do we get those messages to these young people to combat what they're seeing on social media, in music videos, TikTok, all that good stuff?
It starts at home, Patrice. I truly believe it starts at home. We have to get our parents to understand, pay attention to what's happening at home. 9 times out of 10, for every 13-year-old that has a gun, a parent knows that child has a gun or something is not right within that child's home, right? We have to take responsibility. Us. It starts with us and taking back our own community and the safety and the livelihood and the wealth of our own community. I mean, if you look back, that's what they did in my grandmother and great-grandmother days. I was thinking this morning of an example of taking ownership of your community, right? Okay, so I'm a New Yorker, but my grandmother and mother's family is in the South in Alabama, right? But back then, I can remember coming to the South for the summer. And we never took the bus. I was young. I didn't know why, but I was back there in those days. I'm a little old, you guys, a little bit older than you all. We didn't take the bus, but we called what they called a jitney. Okay, was in the Black community. But now, it's escalated to $1 billion industry called Share Rise, Uber, Lyft. But that's what we did. We took ownership. And that jitney did not charge you an arm and a leg to take Sister Mary to the grocery store. They were volunteers in their own community to help one another because they knew what it took to survive. And they did that. And they did it with pride. So we have to look back on what worked. That worked. They had love and they had pride and they had a bond. And we have to start by creating that within our own communities, starting within our own home.
Any others want to jump in on that one? How can we get these messages to our kids today?
So
Family, parents, go ahead.
I'm a marketer, so
Mhm.
this is the parent right here. This is the parent.
Mm.
And sadly, I would say, my grandmother would say, the worst of our behavior has been amplified on the
Mm.
loudest platforms. So the worst of our behavior is what's on the shade room and what's on TikTok and what goes viral and has 10 million views. It's the
Mhm.
worst of our behavior. It's the fights, it's the smash and grabs, it's the carjack, it's all of those things. And so all of these kids have a phone, and this is what they're seeing, and this is the image that's been pushed out to them. As an African American woman, we are defined now by housewives. We
Mm.
went from being the most well dressed, most you know unbelievable women to now being the woman who starts fights and throws drinks in each other's faces, because that's what's been pushed out and that's what's been amplified to
Mm.
define us. And so I am at a point of, if we don't get the people that these children listen to, they're the ones that have to amplify the message. As much as I wish it were me, it's not. It's the rapper, it's the reality show star, it's the person that they see every single day, it's the Kanyes, it's that person that can drive the message and amplify it to change. And we see it in bits. We do see it in bits. You hear people talk about it. The young man that was killed, the rapper that was killed, he was talking about it. Nipsey Hussle.
Yeah.
Nipsey
Yeah.
Hussle, yeah.
So you
Black wealth. He talked a
right,
lot
and
about that.
Black wealth. You see it in bits and pieces, but we need every rapper to start talking about wealth and not killing each other and not tearing down the stores and the businesses. We need all of the rappers to have that message. Then it influences our community.
I agree with you 100%. But then that goes back to the wealth. They're not making money if they tell the truth. It is unfortunate that they use our children's lives in such a way, but it goes back to the dollar. And they make money off of that. It's sad, but it's true. So, how can we home in that message to them? You guys have made enough money. When has it become a moral issue for you? Because you're doing this off of the children's lives that are being lost because they think that they're in a rap video. So, getting to them, yes. But if we can't get to them, then next best is getting to us.
I
Tanisha,
think when,
jump in because I
yeah,
read your bio and I would love folks to read your bio. You had other people who invested in you, and I believe even from your church community. Can you talk about that? Because I'd
yeah.
love to also weave in the role that civil society, nonprofit organizations, the Black church or the church plays in all of this.
No, that's right. And that's what I was going to talk about, because I didn't have a mom, involved biological mother or family member who invested in my journey. It wasn't until I went to stay with my godmother, who was not even the church ordained godmother. She was literally a saint in the community who just had had enough and had basically said, this child is not going to live like this. And so that was my experience. And even, but that goes back to the role that you're talking about, Sylvia, of just having a matriarch or body, a mentor, or someone in the community, someone in the network to invest in kids' lives. And I think that's one of the things that can really make a difference in a child's life, of them just knowing that someone cares. Because if they're in an environment, well, where at least one person is trying to better them, one person is trying to push them to be different, to not just to succumb to the norms of society, I think that goes a long way. And we've seen it in the one of the things that we do at the American Federation for Children is we train up these young people. We have a fellowship, and we're starting a fellowship of high school students, but the fellowship is of college students. And these are college students who've benefited from education opportunities across the country. And to let them know, like, hey, you're awesome, but your story is kind of unique. It's a niche within the niche. And to share that, to be an example to other students, because they listen to celebrities and they listen to people on the street, but they also listen to each other. And so if we can impact, one person's life and let one student know that, hey, what you're doing is really, really awesome, and you should share your story, you should continue to give back. People listen to them. I was telling them before the show, I was at a stage play this weekend, and there was one like young girl in the crowd, and like all of the kids, I could just like look around, they perked up. Like, now the show was interesting because they saw someone in this stage play who was in the same age group as them. And so they might not listen to us. They'll listen to celebrities, but they'll listen to their peers too. So I think that that's also a great way to get our messages over to students, because they want to be better. I remember hearing that as a kid, like, kids want to be chastised. And I would be like, no, we don't. Leave us the heck alone. But the fact is, like, yeah, when I lived in DC for 3 years, and I would be that person on the metro, turning around, correcting these obnoxious kids who just felt like they could do anything on the metro. Like, I was like, no, I am going to be the village. And kids want to be chastised. They want to be corrected, because that's a form of love.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on the role of organizations and the church and mentors?
I agree with you, Denisha, 100%. I'm from the old school rearing. You're not going to have that profanity in front of me. I don't care if you're not my child. I'm going to tell you that's offensive, because maybe someone never did. And it's the way that I tell you too. I'm not going to be nasty or ugly to you. I'm going to do it in a loving manner. I'm going to let you know that you don't have to do that. I'm going to let the young girls know, hey, showing all your body is not giving a guy anything to look forward to. It's right there. I'm going to tell them that. I'm going to point out their beauty. That doesn't mean sexual. So we have to be that mentor. And that's what Black Mothers United tried to do. We tried to take our position back in our communities and say, yes, I'm the candy lady and you can come over. But while you're here, let's talk a little, because I'm also the confidant. But if you're doing something wrong, don't say anything, because I'm going to chastise you now. Because we can also be that as well. We always have been.
Final thought, Karen.
I am hopeful. The one thing, Patrice, to your point, after a year of George Floyd and social unrest, the one thing that I have been really excited to see is I believe there is a Black wealth movement that is building. It's slow, it's not huge, but of people sharing. I see it on TikTok amongst young people sharing how to invest, how, crypto is huge, huge amount of Blacks in the crypto space. And they're talking to each other about building that financial wealth. And so I'm hopeful that that conversation helps our people down the road.
Terrific. I took away a lot of solutions that you ladies brought up today, starting with education, giving parents and kids freedom and choice. Um, and even in that space, preparing our students for the jobs and the opportunities of the future, pushing us away from just the retail and the more basic positions to things that, to jobs that are going to be around even after retail moves to a more digital format. And then the investment, the personal investment that we can be making, whether we're moms, mentors, ladies on the train who are correcting bad behavior, or people who have social media presence, where we can be talking about investing, educating on what inflation is, or just using the platforms to impact one person. And we've seen that impacting one child's life can be transformative for our people, for our nation, for our future. And so we can go on, but I also want to respect everyone's time, and maybe we will do a round two. Because I think you guys have so much knowledge and wisdom that I continue to want to uplift and share. So thank you. Thank you, Sylvia. Thank you, Denisha. Thank you, Karen, for your time today.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you.
This was amazing, ladies. Thank you. Have a great day.
Okay.
Thank you. Well, and everyone, thank you for watching, whether you're watching us live or you're going to catch us on video later. We hope I know this was informative, and we hope that it's helpful. We hope that you'll share this with someone. Now, for just our basic commentary analysis on policy, please sign up for our newsletter, The Pointer, at iwf.org/CEO. You can get alerts on what the work that we're working on. And again, please share, and if you thought this was helpful, you want to see a part 2, let us know on social media. Find Independent Women's Forum on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. Let us know what you thought of this video and if you want a round 2. So until next time, I am Patrice Onwuka, the director of the Center for Economic Opportunity at the Independent Women's Forum. And we hope you will be well, that you will thrive, and that you will strive for more. Thanks so much.